all right, I'm finally doing the John Wick series. It took a while and kept getting delayed, but now I'm doing it. So I came to the series late. I started watching the series when the third film came out. In fact, my family, what we ended up doing was using a weekend to watch 1, 2, and then go see 3. Like, we saw the first on Friday, watched 2 on Saturday, and then went to the theater to see 3 on Sunday. So, yeah. But they said if you didn't like the first movie, then we won't continue. We'll just see it without you. But, me being a big Keanu fan, despite some of the roles he's taken, Dracula, but I'm a big fan of him. And then they didn't tell me that throughout the films, he's actually doing his own fight scenes. They didn't tell me that. So I went to the series completely blind, didn't know anything about it. I just heard people talking about it. But with the first film,
I lost everything. That dog was a final gift from my dying wife.
Jonathan, you got out once. You dip so much as a pinky back into this pond, you may find something reaching out to pull you back in.
It's personal.
Where'd you get that car?
What does it matter?
It's not what you did, son. It's who you did it to.
Nobody?
That nobody is John Wick.
This came out in 2014. Now, this is directed by, it's technically 2 directors. It's Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, not Lynch, Leitch, who, David Leitch, after this movie, he went on to do like Deadpool 2 and Bullet Train, while Stahelski stayed on to direct the sequels. Now, if you look at the the credits, it says Stahelski directed this. That is not true. It's the Directors Guild of America the Directors Guild has this weird rule where you have to share, if you have like a 50% on directing, then you get both names in the credits. That's why you see the Coen brothers or the Wachowskis, because they're doing movies together. They're sharing the 50-50. With if you go more of a 60 or 40 or 40 or 60, then that's when they're going to give more credit to the higher percentage who directed it. So that's why you see it says Chad Stahelski directed this, but in actuality, both him and Leitch directed this. But like I said, Leitch left to go do other films, while Stahelski stayed to do the sequels. And this was also a kind of like low point or like weird place for Keanu. He just did the movie 47 Ronin, which was pretty much a box office bomb. And, he wasn't really getting cast in a whole lot of stuff anymore. And Stahelski, being a it was a stunt double for Keanu on the Matrix films, he wrote this idea, which was to have, the main actor, whoever they got to play John Wick, to do their own fights and to do their own, coordination. And Keanu said, oh, yeah, I'll do it. So Keanu, not only, him giving a really good performance as this character, but him also taking the time to, to do his own fight scenes is just awesome. And it's also because, he's not just because he's an awesome person in real life and just one of the coolest guys ever. but you know, he's that, he can be that committed as an actor. And another thing about this movie series is the fight scenes, incredible. So with the first film, it is about this guy, John Wick, who recently just had his wife pass away, and his last gift from his wife is a dog. And they make it so that dog is so cute and adorable that it hits you hard when these bunch of idiots or jerks who are connected to a big mob, pretty much, they decide to steal his, I think it was a Mustang, his car, and they kill his dog. And my favorite thing about it is, one of my favorite things about this series is all you have to do is just say, like, yeah, it's, he's John Wick, and people are like, uh-oh. One of my favorite parts of the first movie is you have John Leguizamo. The people that robbed him, they go to his pretty much like a car shop, and he punches him and realizes that, like, oh, you messed with Wick. You don't do that. Well, good luck. And so then he gets a call from the guy's father saying, like, I heard you struck my son. Yes, sir, I did. Why did you do that? Well, because your son stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. Oh, I love that. That made me laugh so hard, because it's just like, yeah, you're screwed. And then yeah, he says, like, it's not what you did that angered me. It's who you did it to. And yeah, the whole story of him, of John Wick killing, I think it was 3 men in a bar with a pencil, is just so funny. So I also love how they create this, like, pretty much this world where it's pretty much underground, where it's like an underground assassin, like society is super cool. I mean, the fact that they have their own, hotels, the Continentals, where, if you, like, are there doing a job, you can just go right there, and they're strictly for you. To the fact that they have their own currencies is like, wow, they really, like, fleshed out this world. And then as the series goes, they flesh it more out, which is really, really cool. So the first movie is really good. I thoroughly enjoy it. So yeah, I really like the first movie. And yeah, after watching the first movie, I was like, can we watch the second one, like, right now? So then we got Chapter 2 in 2017.
How good to see you again so soon, Mr. Wick.
I need you to do this task.
I'm not that guy anymore.
You are always that guy, John.
I can't help you.
You know the rules. If you don't do this, you know the consequences.
Accounts payable, how may I help you?
I'd like to open an account.
Name on the account?
John Wick.
The contract has gone international. You have no idea what's coming.
Somebody please get this man a gun.
John Wick Chapter 2 picks up, like, pretty much, I think they said a week after the first film, where, John Wick gets his car back, but ends up pretty much destroying it at the same time. But he gets a call from, he tries to go back to retirement. But unfortunately, that's not how the rules of the world work. Once you get out of retirement, you're back in it. And it's going to take a long road to get back into retirement, which is pretty much what the series is John Wick getting out of retirement for love, but gets pulled back into it all and tries to get back into retirement. But, you know, we'll have 2, 3, and 4 to do that. But this film, he ends up getting a call to do a contract for a member of the high table. And pretty much the high table they set up that you don't mess with them. They're the ones that, you know, keep everything afloat. You know, as they say, like, if there's no rules, you're pretty much with the hyenas. And, you know, rules keep everything grounded. They're the ones that make everything. So if you pretty much turn down a contract from the high table, you're pretty much dead. Or you just have to fulfill it and just see what happens next. So, you know, decisions. So after Wick fulfills the contract, he's like, you know what? I'm going to kill this guy. And this movie also brings in Laurence Fishburne. So a nice little Matrix reunion right there. And another thing about this series is there are a ton of Matrix references. Like, especially like in the third film, there was a reference like directly to the Matrix. And also, I gotta point this out: the casting is great. You know, like, yeah, Keanu as Wick, he's just awesome. Laurence Fishburne, he's amazing. Ian McShane as the Continental manager for New York, that was great. Lance Riddick, you know, he was such an incredible actor. You know, in fact, the first time I saw him was when he was in, I think it was season 2 or 3 of American Horror Story, and I didn't even recognize him. So like when like popped up that like, oh, the history of Lance, and it showed him in that, I was like, that was him? Like, oh wow, like no way. That's really cool. And I did not know that. And yeah, Lance Reddick was just a very, very talented actor. And yeah, miss that guy. But the casting is fantastic in this series. So two I think was very good. I think the thing with the series is that each film gets better and better. You know, it's like the first film is a great to me. 2, I think is also a great. So yeah, I really liked 2. And also another thing about the series is that each time there's like moments, like in the first film, I think there was a moment where I went, oh. In 2, there's a couple like, oh, like, ow, that hurt. 3, yeah, 3 was just like, oh my God, dude. 4, not so much. I mean, there was a couple moments, but still. But yeah, 2, I thoroughly enjoyed. So 2 gets a great. Then in 2019, we got Chapter 3, Parabellum.
Do you expect him to make it out?
A $14 million bounty on his head. And everyone in the city wants a piece of it. I say the odds are about even.
Doc, 5 seconds.
John Wick, excommunicado in effect in 3,
2,
1.
And away we go.
So John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. The only one in the series that has a tagline, which is kind of interesting. But Parabellum is prepare for war. This one was kind of the beginning of the end. I was predicting, where I was going like, okay, after this, it looks like they can do maybe one or two more. But I'll get into that in a little bit. Chapter 3 takes place like immediately after part 2. And yeah, it's with the end of chapter 2 is Wick, fulfills what he was doing and ends up having a bounty on his head that every assassin can try to get. So yeah, not good. So this one, it's him trying to basically stop that, get his name off the bounty, and still kills a ton of people in, awesome action style ways. And I really like this one too. Like I said, I think they get better with every film. Now, there are some... I've heard that some people think that once they got to, 3, it started getting a little ridiculous. I can see it, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't go with it, the movie's kind of done. But if you go with it, it's actually really good. That's me personally. So, me personally. But I really enjoyed 3. This is also when they started getting longer, too, which we'll talk about 4 in a minute. Because, jeez. So, the first film, I think, was an hour and 40 minutes. 2 was, a couple minutes past 2 hours. And then this chapter 3 was, 2 hours and, 10, 15 minutes or something like that. So they started getting a little longer, which is cool. And, it's John Wick is still awesome. And some of the new characters they add in this, I really liked, like Halle Berry, who has, a very dysfunctional relationship with John from the past. And, she's doing her own fight scenes in this, which, was awesome. I really wish that they did Catwoman the same way. But also, they have Angelica Houston, who I was like, oh my God, great, she's still acting. Because I hadn't seen her in anything, the past couple years prior to seeing Chapter 3. So I was really surprised to see her in something. And she has, she's pretty much when John was a kid and he had nowhere else to go, he went to her. So you get to learn more about John's past and how he became who he is. And yeah, unfortunately not a whole lot of sunshine and rainbows, unfortunately. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Chapter 3. I think it was really, really, really good. And yeah, like I said before, still a lot of the fights that were a bit oh, that hurt. Yeah, that guy's not getting up after that. So yeah. But this one gets a great. I still thoroughly enjoyed the series, you know, after seeing part 3. And then now, this year, we got chapter 4.
You're going to die.
Maybe not.
Goodbye to you, my trusted friend.
A new day is dawning. New ideas, new rules, new management.
We've known each other since we were 9 or 10.
Who is this?
The Marquis de Gramont. Challenge him to single combat. Win or lose, it's a way out.
I don't sit at the table.
Your family does.
Please pray for me. I was the black sheep of the family.
Man has to look his best when it's time to get married. Or buried.
I'm going to need a gun.
Goodbye, my friend, it's hard to die.
Chapter 4 is the longest in the series, almost 3 hours long. Now, it wasn't originally going to be. They said that the original cut was almost 4 hours. And they just went, yeah, we gotta trim this thing down. So, yeah. This one takes place... They never really say. They don't say. It looks like between a couple weeks to a month, maybe. Because, you know, John has to heal. Because what happens at the end of chapter 3, I'm not going to say anything, but, you know, he's pretty banged up. So I'm guessing it takes a little bit for him to, you know, recoup from his injuries. So I'm gonna guess maybe like at least a couple weeks. And this one, so back when chapter 3 came out, they announced that they greenlit part 4 and 5. But while they were trying, but they got stopped due to COVID. And they were going, okay, let's take it in one movie at a time, and then we'll see what happens. So, will we see a chapter 5? Maybe, maybe not. The way that they end this is I heard people say like, oh, this is the finale, and it kind of is, but at the same time, it's not, because the way they end it is very much like, if we stop here, then it's a good conclusion. If we don't, we could continue, and it can work. I like that. So, chapter 4 I think has the best action in all 4 films. Because that's the thing with the series, is that it knows when to stop and have a break with the action, and it knows how long the action should be. And wow, the action scenes in chapter 4 are just incredible. I mean, jeez, even Keanu said that there were a couple weeks where they were filming where he didn't talk. He fought. And, the fight scenes, one is, I think, 10 minutes. And then it pauses to have, a minute break. And then goes back into, 10 minutes. And then pauses for a minute break. And then goes back into 10 minutes. So it's there's it's pretty much a whole act of this film that is just a continuous action scene. And it's just that's just impressive. Now, people that were saying oh, there was too much action. It's it's kind of what the series is a lot of action. And it works. So chapter 4, See, determining which one is the best one out of the series is hard for me, because I know a lot of people that said that this is the best one. I don't know. That's very tricky, but this gets it great. This entire series gets it great because, you know, from the world building to how dedicated the actors are to the action scenes, to the fact that it's not like the multi-camera, multiple angle action scenes that we've been getting in the past almost 20 years. Like, you know, it's actually actors doing this stuff. And it's awesome. And the fact that you can see it is awesome. Because, you know, like I said, the director, Chad Stahelski, he came from a stunt background. So he knows action. So this series is just great. You know, I really like chapter 1. I really like chapter 2. Chapter 3 is really good as well. And then chapter 4, it's like you're starting to like bake a cake. And then with each film, it just gets better and better. And then at the end, 4 could be the finale, which if it is, then the cake is just perfect. This is a great series. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad I saw this in the theater. I'm glad I saw chapter 4 in the theater, but this is probably going to be one of those films where it's like split it up into 2 parts because it is that long. But who knows? So that is the John Wick series. Will we get a 5th film? I don't know. But we are getting a Continental 3-part series on Peacock. And we are getting a ballerina spin-off movie with, was it Ana de Armas? And so we will see what happens. They did say that Keanu will be in Ballerina. They did not say if he is going to be in the Continental series. Probably not, because it takes place in the 70s, so it's a prequel. So, but, you know, anything can happen. So we'll see. But thanks so much for listening. And I'll see. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks.